Hi, this is Tom Kaler, and a quick overview on an implementation of some foundations for generative collective intelligence. And we're doing this in the form of a reference application. It's largely been built via AI coding by yours truly. And I say that in advance because I'm more of a research or science-based coder, not a production coder. So a lot of this is testing the capabilities of AI coding tools. Largely, I've used Cursor.io, to some degree, Windsurf, and some other tools in the process. And the other part of this was a major experiment over 5 or 6 months at how much you could do, starting with a theoretical basis, like for someone with a scientific background, to create a system. And so this system was entirely created that way. Um, and so what is the system supposed to do? This is an illustration of a major paradigm shift in how we think about AI. Um, and for 10 years, CrowdSmart has been working at this idea of how do we use AI as a knowledge acquisition and learning environment, not as a product, but as a way to help groups of people think together, to, in essence, be prompt engineering each other and then from that, create a private language model and knowledge model of their problem-solving thinking process. And we'll illustrate what that would exactly look like. But think of it as creating learning communities. Generative collective intelligence is exactly what's in the words. It's a paradigm shift to AI as a social support infrastructure. A paper was written by myself and Sandy Pentland and Martin Reeves and Scott Page and John Seely Brown that kind of gives an overview of this area. It's available in archive. And then essentially, this is about building the collective IQ of organizations. And what I hope you catch a vision for here is that this kind of a system is able to do something that we have not done previously with AI, is how do we use AI as a way to create serendipity, breakthrough ideas, learn things that we did not know independently. And that's going to be the challenge. Now, the framing we're going to use for this, I mean, this is essentially collaborative work. Going to try to make it a little bit more fun and think of it more in a playful form, in the form of a jam session, like in jazz. Because one of the things that happens when we problem solve together, we bounce ideas off of each other, and your idea may inspire an idea in me, which may inspire an idea in someone else. And what this system does is every time someone has an idea or participates, it updates its model of the collective mind. And so you can think of this as quite a different kind of approach to what you're used to in using AI. So without further ado, let's log in. I will be sending out emails and invitations to get into this system. And this is open and available on a research exploration basis. So the basic idea, let's just go in and see what you as a user in this particular environment can either be a creator of a jam or a participant in a jam. You might be invited by a colleague to participate in a jam. A jam can be something that you do. You can have a jam session with just humans. You can have a jam session with just AI agents. You can create your own AI agents and you can invite them to a jam. Now, these AI agents are not particularly sophisticated. We're just using the OpenAI method for creating agents. But if you, on the other hand, want to create knowledge agents, and what differentiates knowledge agents is these are more like if you played with ChatGPT projects or if you played with Notebook LLM, that's what knowledge agents are, with the following difference. Every one of the agents that you will create or work with here have been set up to know how to follow the workflow of collaborating with others. So this system labels AI agents as separate from humans, but it in essence allows us to collectively prompt engineer together and learn together. So this is kind of a unique environment in that in a normal prompt engineering case, all of your work is not captured. Here, we're capturing what are the interactions, the uh, essentially, we're still using RAG in this, which may not be the latest and greatest, but nonetheless, it gives you the idea. Now, what is also the use case for this is to set up, this is being set up and it's fully supported by an underpinning API. This is being set up to be our environment for working with NATO on red team use of agents and red team decision making in work that we are going to be doing with Stanford and the Loyal Agents Project, sponsored by Consumer Reports. This will be available for that as well. Now, let's first look at what a jam looks like. We have a you have a sense there of on my own user dashboard. I'll see the jams I'm involved in, or I can go to a general area to see who has created a jam that I can participate in. So let me participate in a jam on climate change and climate change technology. Almost everything within a jam is based around our ability to predict an outcome. So what we're jamming about is possible solutions to problems, possible. So in this particular case, we would like to know um, what is the group's belief, or including with AI agents, about the sustainable energy dominating by 2030 or 2035? That's an example of a framing. Now, why frame it like that in that particular prompt? Well, as we all know, highly contextualized prompts is where we can get down to work and produce something that has actionable outcomes. And what we're going to make a point here is this is about trust and action, trust, confidence, action. We learn together so that we form a common set of principles that we're looking the way we look at a problem, and then we have a highest probability of serendipity, epiphanal discoveries, etc. So think of this as knowledge discovery, knowledge acquisition, and it keeps track. It keeps track of our history of our learning process. And we're going to see that in the analytics. So it's going to keep track of that. And this is all following principles of an entire architecture that I've written up in a separate paper, where we're looking at AI as really collective belief navigation. If you think about it, particularly from a social point of view, we want to do things together that we believe have a future and an outcome that produce something that we want to see happen. So this is the thinking process that leads to, we hope, collaborative action. Now, let's look a little bit about what this collaboration or jam looks like. So first of all, we see that there are three agents and two humans. They're color coded to be different. I happen to be both of those humans under different identities. I can either have the identity mask or I can have identity available, depending on how you want to set it up. This just indicates what ideas have been peer reviewed. Everything is based on creating what we call citation networks, except that in our case, we look at the evolution of citation networks as they form and migrate and change in time. When we come into a collaboration, we can kind of look at the idea spinner. I'm probably going to remove this. It's not terribly useful. It's just sampling and showing what is going on in the collaboration. Down this panel, you have access to a research agent, um, where the research agent basically has a collection of documents that I can use to get informed about my participation. So if I want to get a little bit more informed, I can do that here. Now, if I also have over here an area we call Idea Jam. Idea Jam is opening up the discussion. If you look at this, it looks a little bit like a Reddit or something like that, except that uh, all of this, everything in this system is underpinned by a semantic um, modeling system that is really looking to learn a model of the collective mind. So, what's very different about this and say an embedded transformer model that's used when you're using ChatGPT or Claude is this is actually building and annotating knowledge as we are sharing. So the richness of what we are able to generate and the provenance of what we are able to generate is radically different. In every case here, when we say something, we know what question we're answering, who we're responding to, all of that. That's all captured in the underlying model. So when the collective mind is being developed, you'll see, even if I go over this, you'll see there'll be information about a lot of contextual information about the reasoning process itself. We call the entire process collective reasoning. This particular area, just think of as evolving ideas together with both agents and with humans in the loop. So I can do a couple of things here. If it's an agent, I can look at this. This is a renewable energy analyst. This is an agent. If I look at that and say, hey, I'm not sure that's good information, it might be suspicious, might be a hallucination, which is possible with these agents. We're just using agents generated out of it, like a chat GPT, OpenAI. We're just using that capability. And so it could be. So I could flag it. I can also decide to query it. I can say, let me look at one of these. What does it say here? Well, let's just look at one I did down here a little bit earlier. I gave this one a question. Could you give me more detail on the technologies? It says climate technologies are seeing increased adoption. Well, that seems kind of general. Can you give me more detail? Well, I posed a question to the agent and it got back to me with an answer. So I'm prompt engineering while I'm collaborating with others. I could go into the view of innovations. Innovations frequently change our, perception. That's good. That's from the AI researcher. That's a human. I happen to be me, of course. Um, Here's a fossil fuel proponent, but it is an agent. Uh, yeah, so it's saying a complex issue. So let's just say, hey, I want to give this a question of how would we reduce some of the complexity? Because this is, it looks to me, in fact, I know this is a proponent of just keep things as they are. Don't just tell me it's too complex. Give me an answer. So that's going to send it off, and then it's going to give me an answer here. And I don't know that it's going to be uh, fantastic, but you can kind of see that you can do this query and response. So you get the idea. Now, when I've warmed myself up a little bit here, I've been in the green room and I've looked around, I can now join the conversation. Now, I have a choice to either give my own prediction or just peer review what other people have said. If I say my own, I can then give my own point of view and enter it in. Or if I just want a peer review, I can just say peer review only. And this is going to come down here and I can say, Now, my choices when I'm peer reviewing is to say, I think this is a pretty highly important issue. And then I can maybe say, put that one get two thumbs up. Uh, that seems like a whine. I'm going to give a thumbs down on that. And then I'll just give a thumbs up on that. Now, when I submit that, this is an important part now. This is going to, because this is, by the way, running on locally on my little M1. So this is not, um, and this is actually using a, using a transformer model and all that, but uh, I'm just basically running it locally right now. When you participate in it, it'll be running on Vercel and an environment, a back-end environment which supports all this. So what it's doing right now it took my inputs, it turned that into, it used an algorithm to turn that into a priority list. It then turned that into a connectivity matrix. It then turned that into a Markov model. And then it updated, uh, it literally did an updating of the Markov model, the memory of the collective mind. So every move changes the state of knowing of the system, the state of knowing and being, in a sense, of the system. So now I can go into the analytics area and kind of look at what's going on. So first of all, I can see there's a scoring distribution here. Some were happy and gave 100%. Others were less. This is now a spectral distribution of the themes or ideas. And you can see that this is now this is brand new. So there's not going to be a big difference in probabilities, but this is the highest ranking uh, idea that came in so far. And I can go down here and read it in detail if I want. That's the highest ranking one. It's only a little bit above the lower ranking ones, but it's beginning to emerge. This here gives me what's happening to the free energy of the group. As this collaboration is going on, the free energy of the group is coming down. What does that mean? Their sense of uncertainty is coming down. And how do I measure the uncertainty? Well, we measure the uncertainty using something, a form of happens in the Hopfield model of, are people being aligned? Are they more or less aligned in their thinking and their beliefs? This is actually a phase transition network of what's going on in the learning within the system. It's basically energy entropy analysis. We can also look at a complete entropy analysis. We can look at uh, the uh, what is, oops, do it this way. And there, I don't know why I have to do that. A little bug I got to fix. Um, you can now see what's going on. This is now tracking for each proposition, each thing that each individual or agent said. It's tracking how they're evolving in time. I don't want to underplay the fact that this is a continuous learning system. And that continuous learning is part of the power because we can get emergent serendipitous discovery from this. One of the things I didn't show you about the idea jam is, I'll go back to it in a minute, but I can build on other people's ideas. Now, here's the other thing that's going on. I have all that detail and I have a model of the collective mind. This is, in essence, now a three-dimensional projection of the collective mind of the group, showing annotations in this mind model. It's a mini language model. And so what I can actually do is go up at the top here and I can actually query the collective mind or collective voice. So I can say, what have we learned so far? Now, again, this may not be super fast because it's running locally. It's going out to get so it's basically creating this query not from a large language model, a foundation model. It's creating it from the little model that we're building so far. And you say, how is that possible? It's possible because we're just using the embeddings, which were done from a larger model, and we're just now just doing this a simple conversation. Now, here's what's cool. It gives me not only a summary, but who said what? How close was the match? So now we have no hallucinations. We've engaged with AI agents, which can hallucinate. So what does that tell us? We can now make what's coming out of the AI agents trustworthy because we're able to interact with it. We know where it's coming from and we're bringing it in all together. So for projects like NATO, where it's got to be secure, can't be hallucinations if we're dealing with global safety, or the case of loyal agents with consumers, we need to be able to know that we have a clear track record or audit trail to how knowledge is being generated. Now, the other thing that we have in this is an ability to create a causal model of the decision making process. And this now tells me what is the prediction, the collective prediction, and then some of the details or thematic categories behind that and what supports it. So you get a sense here, we're building knowledge. We're building a something that will then be a persistent model of how we solve the problem. Think of this as kind of a new sort of Wikipedia. We can co-create and leave it all behind, not just to read a document like in a Wikipedia, but you could also have a knowledge model you can talk to and play with and extend if you like. So that is a couple of the ideas. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to I keep jumping back and forth on the naming here. So let me go back to the jam session, and I want to show you a couple other things. And I'm going to show you in a moment how to create one of these. So now if I go back here, the other thing I can do is I can say, you know what? That just gave me an idea. And so you notice I hit on the little wrench. That means I'm going to now build on what someone else said. That's now going to go into the collective mind model. So now you see what the potential is here. Unlike any other environment, and I would include any of the deliberation environments or anything else, this is actually essentially doing dynamic programming. And that's in essence what prompt engineering is. It's just dynamic programming, but we're doing collaborative dynamic programming to create an output causal model and language model that's very precisely tuned to our thinking about a highly contextualized problem. Um, now, I am going to log out and log in as a different person to illustrate some other capabilities. And this is just because it's another version of me, as you might guess. And in this particular case, I'm going to go to this identity because I have different things set up in it. So in this identity, I can go to the dashboard. And one of the things I created was knowledge agents. Now, how are knowledge agents, and we'll talk a little bit about you can create any one of these. How are knowledge agents different from regular AI agents? In this particular case, if we create a knowledge agent, we're creating something the equivalent of that you might find in a notebook LLM, or you might find in Chat GPT projects, where you can give it a set of a repository of documents, and then it'll only answer from those documents. Let's so, for example, if I go in and say I want to query uh, let's go into the resource area. I can create these agents and then put them in a generally available resource. And by the way, this video is going to be available there. So let me go to the AI policy for the agent for the EU Act. So I can do a query, and here I can just do a normal RAG type query where I can say, what are reasons to be confident that the EU AI Act will be effective? And so now what it'll do is it has the EU Act documents and so on, and it gives me a little list of reasons why that would be so. And if there's multiple documents, it'll give me a quotation list of where it got its information. So once again, it's highly, there's not room for hallucination here. And this is now a way you can bring that knowledge agent into a collaboration as well. So if you have, you know, you want to bring a lot of data to bear on a collaboration. Let's say you're doing something around customer data. You could have an agent that has all that customer data as a knowledge agent. So that could be how you bring data in actively to a jam where you're working with that data to come up with a solution. So that's a general overview. Now let's go through and do a creation process. I can create a new jam very easily. I just hit create. You saw that in the corner. I can use a template. And some of these templates were set up just for those who want to play. You can create your own climate technology adoption or any one of these. This is an NPS, Net Promoter Score Light, or I could do the EU AI Act Effectiveness of AI Ethics. I select one of these. This one doesn't have any seed data. This one has some seed data. I select it and say, I'm going to do this, and I'll create it. Now, I'm not going to go through and create it right now because it's going to create another collaboration in there, but it's as easy as that. Let me create one from scratch so you get a sense of what that is like. So if I create from scratch, let me just say, um, create something around, just say customer satisfaction. I don't know. Let me say, let me talk about this environment itself. Improvements. I want improvements to collective reasoning common, what we're in right now. And we could actually use this. And I will say, I can provide a greater description here. Please use this uh, to give your feedback and brainstorm. Make this experience better. Okay, there you go. So now I can create it. Notice I got a little uh, progress thing here. Now I can also say, hey, I want to put some materials in here. It could be a videos, it could be documents, a variety of sorts. You saw that in the knowledge agents as well. So the idea of constantly being able to pull in documents to the research agent, knowledge agent, or into a jam is very important because uh, that's how we can get familiar with the topic. I can now continue, and here now I have a chance. Everything is set up as a predictive question, um, then follow on the reasoning. And why do you do it that way? Well, because when you think crystal clear about what do you want to happen in the future, it really focuses in the way we think. So, do what? Uh, Let me do it this way. Do you believe that generative collective intelligence will be the gateway to organizational use of a trusted? Is that a loaded question or what? Okay, then I can say just uh, give stories or evidence that back up your thinking and prediction. Okay, now here then I have an opportunity to put in some seed answers. I could put in very little and just let an AI agent do it. I need to have at least one. Uh, I think this, I'll just put in here, I'll just say trust is earned through practice and use. And this is what this would say. It would say, hey, by using AI agents within practical situation, there's most likely to be a growth in trust. Now, as soon as I say that, now I have set up a bunch of AI agents myself here. So I have this whole host of agents I can invite to the party. So who do I want to invite? Um, it's not about climate change. Oh, I have an agent, knowledge agent on Foundations for Generative Collective Intelligence. That is a good knowledge agent to invite to the party. I have one on active inference in the free energy principle. I have one on community. Okay, so those are those, and then I can invite, I'll just invite my other identity to this. Okay, and I can add as many invitees as I want. Now, when I continue to create this, this is now uh, going to be something that is available for everyone to play with. So I can just launch it, launch the jam, and that's it. That easy. That easy. It's forming right now. Now, why does it take a little bit? It's all three agents just completed that jam. Okay. All three agents went through, read it, gave their prediction. Let's see what they said. I have no idea. This is truly live demo. Now, this will also take a little while too, because the agents may still be, because they're doing peer reviews as well. So what the agents are doing is they're reading the prompt, responding to the prompt. They are then being given a sampling of uh, some either the seed information or what was generated by other agents, and they're peer reviewing each other. Think about this. Agents can peer review each other. So we can begin to set up um, agent collaborations and jams that will allow us to test different models and different things like that. So now I've got it and I can view it. Um, I don't know what it's going to show up here as, see what we get, see what we get. Sorry about the little bit of slowness. This is usually associated with when we're building a model. Um, it it's a little bit slower in getting up and going. And once again, keep in mind that if this were put on a well-funded server farm, that the performance issues would all evaporate. Now, here's what it's done. You can see that the agents have interacted with each other. They haven't interacted with the human. We have a research agent, but there's nothing here. So if someone comes in and says, "Hey, I want to add a document," they can do that here, um, and and so on. And then we have a few of the things showed up in the idea jam. We can go to analytics and just look at the preliminary analytics, and you see there's very little in here yet, but there has been some activity, and so it's all there for review and engagement. So it gives you a sense of how that works. I want to show you one other thing, and then we're going to wrap this thing up. If I go into my dashboard and I look at my activities, uh, I happen to my other identity um, gave me a notification, which is it asked me a question about something I had put uh, in this particular. Uh, but I don't see where the original question is here. I'll have to look at that. But in any case, I think when a question is asked, it brings it into my notification board. I answer it. It'll go back into Idea Jam. So there's a way for users to interact and participants to interact with each other as well as with agents. So with that as a quick overview, maybe not as quick as you'd like, that is kind of what is available. So I invite you to engage, and I'll leave the collaboration up there that has the opportunity to engage. And by the way, I'm open to ideas of how do we frame this. I did the notion of jazz because I think this is really a way for us to, we have to understand that we're using this to generate a knowledge model, not to uh, use AI to inform us in this. It's where AI is providing the exoskeleton, a learning infrastructure, so that we can amplify our collective intelligence working together. Thank you very much.